we've got a lot of questions for the Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke, but our requests for an interview were denied. So make of that what you will. Anyway, his opponent, Jonathon Duniam, is here with us. The Shadow Home Affairs Minister joins us now. We'll start with your opponent. Heckled here last night. I suppose he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't by coming down here, but nevertheless he was heckled. Does that point to an underlying tension that's now becoming a focus, bubbling to the surface perhaps?
Well, Pete, I think it does to a degree, and I think you're right. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I mean, this is a community in mourning, incredibly hurt. I was here all day yesterday, and the number of people that don't know me bowled up to me and said, we warned you, we warned the government, we knew this was coming. We've known for years this was coming, and you've done nothing. I think there is a lot of tension, a lot of anger toward the government over inaction, including on Gillian Segal's report around what to do to combat anti-Semitism. And here we are talking about things like gun law reform. Sure, that's important, but where are the measures to deal with anti-Semitism, which gave rise to these atrocious events, killing 15 innocent people? Yeah. That needs to be dealt with, and I think that's part of why Tony Burke got the reception that he did.
So what are some of the things that the government should be implementing now? I mean, do you push forward with all of those recommendations?
Well, unless there's a good reason not to, and the government in 6 months of having that report have not given us a good reason not to. I mean, Gillian said it herself. Hate speech gives rise to hate acts. That's what's happened here. And over the course of the last 2 years, since October 7, 2023, we've seen hate speech proliferate in this country, directed at the Jewish Australian community. That needs to be curtailed. Her report goes to ways to deal with that on campuses, in the private sector, in government, in the community more broadly. There are measures there that should be taken up as a matter of urgency, but they're not. And I think they're sort of squibbing it by saying they're still working on it. We've got to get on and do this urgently.
So Cam Redden just ran through. We'll get to gun reform now because, I mean, this has become the focus for the government now. Wants to put restrictions, the amount of guns you can have, only by Australian citizens. That's just a few. Would you support that? Do you support that, or should it go beyond that?
Well, look, I think let's see the detail. What they've asked is state and territory governments to go away and work up options, and that will take time. If they had these reforms in place before these awful events occurred, would they have still occurred? Who knows? But people who want to inflict harm are going to do it, if not with guns, with explosive devices, with knives. That's not a reason not to act. As an opposition, we'll see what's put forward by way of reform. If it's sensible, if it does actually have an impact and effect, then let's have a go at it. But otherwise, if they're not dealing with anti-Semitism, that's the root driver behind what happened here. They're not doing their job.
That's a good point, and this is a sentiment that was shared by Matt Canavan on this program a little earlier today, where he said that this appears to be a distraction. The move towards gun reform or making changes in that space is just distraction from the bigger issue at play here, and that is, like you point out, the rise in anti-Semitism, this festering ideology that still exists in our community. That needs to be tackled, and his view is that it's too big for the government to handle.
Yeah, well, it's very difficult for them to handle when they don't do their job and actually take it head on. I mean, so we can do all of these other things. We can make changes to immigration law, we can embark on gun law reform, but if we're not dealing with anti-Semitism, which this government is not, we will never stamp this out. What's more, the reports that the intelligence and law enforcement authorities are under-resourced, and there should have been things they were able to do but for the lack of resources is concerning. The fact that, of course, when we have a national threat level here of probable, terrorist threat level of probable in this country, and have since September, yet the resources in the AFP alone, where they monitor a lot of these people on watch lists, and as far as back as May last year, there was a warning to government that they were under-resourced. They could not keep an eye on everyone. That is incredibly concerning. And of course, reports that there were certain flags in the car of the alleged perpetrators. I think there is a lot to be concerned about here. Gun law reform, which is the government's big response to this, goes so far. And let's see the detail of that, but there's a lot more this government's not doing than they need to.
We had Peter Moroney on the program yesterday, and you know, he's an ex-copper, and he had a few interesting thoughts on his views on things, and part of it was that we're not able to enough, and this is just a state issue, but not enough cops on the beat. We need more police officers. How do you do that? What would be your advice from your portfolio at a federal level anyway?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, they had a national cabinet meeting yesterday and they talked about gun law reform. Well, where was the questions about resourcing to prevent this sort of thing from happening? Those reports around under-resourcing in the AFP talked about a case officer monitoring 20 or 30 people of interest. There is no way an individual can stay on top of a workload like that. So the government, who downgraded their counter-terror unit within the AFP, have this report from the AFP saying we don't have enough resources, May of 2024, against the backdrop of ASIO saying our probable terror threat level is now is up to probable. That is a government that is asleep at the wheel and not taking these issues seriously. And on top of that, you don't deal with Gillian Segal's report on tackling anti-Semitism.
What about the authorities? We'll have to close now before we move on. I mean, ASIO was aware of this guy or these guys, not actually watching them. There's a difference. They were aware of them. I mean, is there questions from you on that this morning?
Well, look, I think ASIO do a terrific job with the resources they've got available to them, and they could do a lot more if they had more resources, of course. But I do have to wonder how an individual is able to go and train, acquire the necessary weapons, plan and undertake an attack of this nature, and for, as it's been reported, to have flags of a certain nature in their vehicle. It does speak to me of something a lot more sinister, and that concerns me.
Is there a feeling, though, and Malcolm Turnbull, I think, touched on this yesterday when he was asked about it, is there a feeling that you just can't watch everybody? You know, someone, if they have this twisted ideology, and you pointed this to one of the earlier answers, they're going to do it anyway, and not everyone can be watched, so it's difficult for the authorities to actually track everyone.
Yeah, and look, that is a fair assessment. They can't watch everyone, and nor should they. This is a freedom-loving country where we respect people's rights and privacies, but these people don't just individually come up with these ideas and operate without any influence from outside. Who knows where they've received ideas, where indeed, if there is an extremist nature to it, they have obtained these ideas. Those sorts of things are the kinds of issues that we need to be looking at, and I think that resourcing for agencies is an important part of doing so.
That's the Shadow Home Affairs Minister, Jonathon Duniam, speaking to us live here from Bondi. Appreciate that, Jonathon.